Hey guys, and welcome back to another Trekyards podcast. I am still Captain Foley.
And I am newly Commander Cockings. No, I'm not. I just want to be opposite.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. So today we got more Discovery discussion. I don't know if you remember, Commander, but when news of Discovery first came out, there was rumors floating around that it was going to be an anthology series,
Yes.
with each season being like probably its own timeline or era or something, or different story altogether. So what do we think about that? Do we think that explains perhaps the weird looking Klingons, which we've already discussed? Does it tie in? Could it be like from the future? Or?
Well, it's worth saying we did discuss this when the rumor came out, but I think the way we're approaching it today is is it still an anthology, just not announced? And is that why the direction is the way it's going? Directly linking with the odd pieces we've seen. So when we theorized, or we hoped anthology would mean each season is a different era, different time, that would be the best way to appease all fans. And I even said, what if you made an overriding story arc? So, 5 seasons of each era, and each one would build up to, now it's the 26th century, full story. I mean, why you brought up this topic today, Stuart? Why do you think it's still an anthology, maybe, then?
I'm thinking with the way that the Klingons look, the Klingon sarcophagus ship and the wireframe ship that we've seen so far, all these kind of point to a different era or different time period or something. So could it be possible that they've got this 5-season or 6-season story arc, and each season is its own era, let's say, but they all interweave and tie in together. So by the end, it's like this huge tapestry that was so planned out. It's going to be amazing, and we're all going to be like, oh. But that requires really good writing, obviously. But could it be that something from the future, from maybe like a season 6, comes back to the very first episode of Discovery, and Discovery is sent to investigate it, and the whole thing is unraveling what the hell is going on? Each season, something different. Different crew, maybe.
You mean like a multi-season predestination paradox?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. Because Star Trek, one of its main tropes is time travel. And it works very well within the context of the Star Trek universe and Star Trek storytelling. And I think it would belay some of the fears that people have had over what they've seen so far. So I'm hoping, like I said all along, I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst. I'm just hoping that they've thought that far ahead. And if they have, I applaud them. But, I mean, if you think about it, if they did do that, and that is the case, the little nuggets and tidbits we're getting that don't make sense all of a sudden. That it could be this,
Which would be nice.
Yes, this very wide-arcing story.
Well,
so
Star Trek has always been known to have one-offs. TOS, it was exclusively one-offs, and TNG had a couple of two-parters, and then you started getting a few more story arcs, but not that much. Then Enterprise, the newest show, obviously had the season-wide arc, which some people like, some people don't like. It was a response to 24, a fully flowing story line. I think, we certainly heard mumblings and whatever from people behind the scenes and just people who are in the know who were like, well, TV's evolved. You can't really, not many shows are single episode arcs anymore. You always have this overriding season arc, and if they're very clever, they all link it together. I mean, I'm watching The Flash, Arrow, and Legends today, and right now, and they all have season arcs. They even have, link arcs to each other and cross arcs to make the world feel bigger. So I think Star Trek fans might still enjoy single episode arcs, and there should definitely be some of those with the overriding. But maybe, as you just said, they are going the opposite direction. They're now going, they're going the Marvel route. They're saying Star Trek is a phenomenon. If we can re-kickstart it, maybe even reboot it slightly, maybe, but create this flowing multi-season arc like the Avengers, Iron Man 1 leading up to Avengers 2, now Infinity War, which has Guardians and all these, never been done before. But what if they want to do the same thing with TV? Star Trek's always been on the forefront to some extent in visual effects and all these things. So maybe they're trying to say, well, let's have, although ironically, like Babylon 5, Michael J, I can't remember the rest of his name, Straczynski, something like that. He had his entire arc planned. So when you watch the whole franchise, you feel a real sense of progression, a real story, because it's so deep, So having the same thing, if they say, right, we see a ship from the future, there's temporal things, we won't necessarily introduce it straight away, or do and then in season 3, hopefully around then, it'll come back and oh my goodness, and maybe we'll see two of ourselves, and all these things. That could be really interesting, different, and very modern storytelling that Star Trek just hasn't really seen before.
Yeah, and I think.
Well, he disagrees.
Just hung up.
Keep hold of what you're thinking. You're thinking about something, I think.
And I think with newer shows like Game of Thrones, The Expanse, even shows that aren't quite as dramatic, like the shows you were talking about, the Marvel shows, like The Flash and stuff.
That DC, but yeah.
DC. And, well, you mentioned Marvel too, so sorry. But I think that's the new way for television, or at least franchises like Netflix to produce their content, like Daredevil, bringing in the Punisher, and then the Punisher having a spin-off series. Just very interwoven storylines. I think that's the next step for television, or at least small screen productions. I don't know if you really call it television anymore, as I think they're kind of dying out as far as the networks go and network shows. But I think Star Trek needs to step into that, and they did somewhat with Enterprise. Which did work, in my opinion, after I went back and rewatched it. I'm guilty. I'm one of the people that's guilty of kind of dumping it after season 2 and not watching it. So I feel guilty about that, because it was very well done. The Xindi War was really well written and tied together nicely. So, and I think they got the taste of that with Enterprise. Discovery needs to be like that. It needs to step up its game and become an adolescent as far as the show goes, instead of a juvenile, I guess. Episodic, like everything solved in one episode. Nice, neat little package.
Yes.
Maybe 1 or 2 minor story arcs, like in TNG.
DS9 did have continuing story, but it obviously the later seasons it was very much, because there was the biggest action, 5 in a row, everything is connected in one big almost movie. Yeah. But Enterprise was a full season of a full story, like a season of DS9 is just a bit of a war, then they take DS9. You know what I mean? That there isn't, it hasn't got the same twists and turns narratively, whereas Enterprise obviously is like this really big, story. So you like I say, you broached this topic. If it was an anthology and we see all these tidbits that don't really make sense visually, or at least we'd have to retcon a lot of stuff / ignore a lot of stuff. How do you think an anthology would fix that? Like, you said something about the future stuff, but could you elaborate? What do you mean might make sense within that anthology frame?
For example, the Klingons, the way they look, they could be from the very distant future. They could be like, it would explain the ship design too, like the sarcophagus ship. Now, I go to the future for that. I also go to the past. I speculated in my one captain's log too, that the Klingons looking like that could just be a retelling of Klingon mythology. We got the Egyptian mythology where you got half man, half crocodile, half man, half bird, half man, half hippopotamus. So maybe these Klingons that we see that are very odd are like the keepers of Sto-Vo-Kor. They put you through the trials and tests after your death. And the sarcophagus ship is what takes you. It's the barge that takes you on the sea to the afterlife, much like the Egyptian mythology. So could it be that the Klingons we saw are just that? They're taught through their flashback or a storytelling device talking about, the Klingon afterlife for whatever story purpose, and it's taken totally out of context with that one picture of the Klingons. Or it could be also that they're from the very distant future. That's why they look so much different. Again, even the ships. And if that ship comes back and crashes somewhere, so what if one of these weird Klingon ship designs we've seen, either sarcophagus ship or the other ones that look very organic, it comes from thousands of years in the future, some kind of temporal anomaly, or even maybe an invasion or something, crashes on a planet, and that's one of the first things we hear about. Maybe that's the destruction for Praxis in the JJ verse. I don't know. Maybe they tie in the alternate universe as well somehow into this whole. Who knows what they're going to do? But that could be one of the reasons that Discovery is first launched in the first episode, is to investigate some odd disturbance that has no, nobody understands what is going on. And over the course of many seasons of could be alternate or different eras, even the lost years after Star Trek 6, different clues are picked up by different ships, and it's never each generation doesn't know what happens because they die off, and this long unsolved mystery goes throughout Starfleet history and eventually is solved and then doubles back some ways, and then the last season starts off right where we started with Discovery, but a proper fixed timeline, maybe. I don't know. There's so many possibilities in Star Trek that you could fix anything by good writing.
The problem is, I don't feel like they are going to... I don't feel like they're going to draw into super canon that much, because anyone who's not a Trekkie will go over their head. So...
Who cares? Really?
Well, yes.
That bothers me. That explanation bothers me because I'm a Star Trek fan. I want to watch new Star Trek, and I want it to make sense with old Star Trek. I don't care about the new people. They can catch up later.
So
Cliff notes for Star Trek.
So a little example of the exact opposite. Star Trek Online is, as we both said, we think Discovery is probably a soft reboot. Star Trek Online is prime Trek, and the team loves Trek, and they really, keep it consistent. There's a wonderful mission, and like they go into the Trek lore. That's what they've got to go on, and they're really, the deep stuff. As fans, we love that. There's a great mission whereby your character sees a temporal anomaly, and because of it, the Enterprise, you go into a parallel timeline, or where you follow it, and you find the Enterprise C. Because it turns out the Enterprise C, when it went back, it actually went back into a wrong. The rift was a wrong time. It went to a mirror, like a separate universe. It was taken by Tholians, which is a nice link to Into Mirror Darkly. I think it was I think it's Tholians, and they have the ship in a space station, and you get to see some of your characters, friends that you meet. They get Denise Crosby to reprise, and then your mission is to get the legendary Enterprise C back into the correct anomaly to actually go back as we thought. But the double continuity, like, not only is that super in canon and super clever, but then at the end, spoilers, a 29th century relativity appears to save you. Because they understand that would make sense. There are these things in the greater Trek universe, like if the Kelvin timeline is just a Back to the Future style, going back and altering the past, or is just a direct causal, changing past, then the relativity, who is not affected by anything in the timeline, should just go back and move the Narada, because guess what the Narada is like? Even though it's massive, it's nothing to a time ship designed to police the timeline. So we understand that as Trek fans, the canon is there. If you mention this, link this, we think, oh, you clever so-and-sos. So I don't feel like they're going to do that with the story, because people who aren't fans will say, wait, there's time people, the 29th? What? We're in the 22nd, though. Why are they talking about that? Whereas we're like, oh my god, it's, it doesn't have the same... Which is so annoying. I don't think they're going to do that. But that, at least not in super detail. The fact they're going to TOS and doing their own thing means they'll have to link in some stuff. And you would think you'd start off... At least the movie of 09 is clever because it links into a prime devastation.
It starts off in the prime timeline.
Yeah, it has that clever timey-wimey-ness. At least we appreciate the unique way of doing it. I want to go back to something you said earlier. I hadn't even considered that these Klingons were, flashback Klingons. That, they could just literally be for a scene that's a flashback, and they need this little Klingon army. It's like in Underworld, they've got scenes, back in the past, and they always have to have armor. Well, if you took a screen cap from that, whenever, Underworld 2 or whatever, you'd say, oh my god, it's a Renaissance film. Well, that scene is a Renaissance scene. So, what if they're Klingons from a flashback and they just needed, 26 of them?
And the Klingon armor looks very much like knight's armor, like medieval armor.
See, I could buy that being prehistoric armor. You know, they've literally taken, hides off animals and teeth off animals and welded it all together and made prehistoric armor. You know, when they can't construct stuff, they're going organic in terms of what they've got around them. And sarcophagus ship. Wouldn't it be wonderful if, the first episode is Discovery doing whatever, and then bumps in, finds this crashed Klingon ship on a planet, and they open it up. It's a sarcophagus ship, as you said, and they've got all these, the most warlike Klingon sect that left the Klingon, just like Khan. I think I said this in a previous episode. Just like that, the most violent and aggressive sect of Klingon culture, and maybe they take over Discovery, strand the crew. The Shins, whatever his name is, the Shinzo, whatever, comes and picks them up, and now the Klingons are trying to start this civil war, and it's like they still know space travel, and
they take the ship back to Kronos, to their homeworld, and there's Discovery. It's a Federation ship, so you got a Federation ship infiltrating Klingon space, causes a whole lot of problems.
That's why D7s look like a... No, I don't subscribe to that anyway. They're D4s and D5s, it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, that would cause a big rift with the Federation and the Klingon for a Federation ship being flown into Klingon space. Yeah. I think not being crashed. I think being more found, the ship found in the crew in stasis or something, would make more sense. But
they could be linking. We know that the Discovery has a very large hangar. If it's a spaceborne small ship that has 20 people, then it obviously could just tractor it on. Then it'd be easy to take over the ship. Then you could, as you say, get to Kronos, they can just leave on their ship and then, whatever. I would certainly rather than be from the past and the future, because I can buy... someone said in the comments of our Klingon discussion that evolution isn't as quick to make the head ridges look so different in between, 50, 60 years. But if it's super prehistoric, I can still see whatever these creatures are, our previous iterations of humans, we had the 2 legs, 2 arms, but guess what? We're much hairier, we're very, very different.
Bigger cranial ridge, yeah.
Yeah, so, give it 5, 10, 15,000 million, whatever years. Okay, not that much for Klingons.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that what was mentioned earlier that we never touched on was the Herc, the race that enslaved the Klingons.
I don't even know about this. I have no memory of this.
Really?
Yep. No idea.
Yeah, I'm not brushed up on it myself, but the Herc enslaved the Klingons back in the day, and the Klingons had to fight them off. And
was that pre-NX-01 or post-NX-01, before TOS? When was that?
Oh, that was Kalis time. Way back. So that's been mentioned too. I don't know. I think an anthology series that tell different stories that you don't think are maybe related at all, but at the end, all of a sudden you find out that every one of those linked into the other ones in some way, and I think that would be a very good storytelling device for Discovery. I would love to see that. But I don't know. I don't know if I have the faith in the writing for them to do that.
You haven't got faith in the heart.
Faith of the heart, yeah.
So, I mean, I was trying to think now. An anthology doesn't need to be 100% different per season. I mean, what if the first season follows Discovery, second season follows, the other ship, then the third season follows a Klingon ship? I mean, wouldn't that be interesting? It's more, there's a time gap and a perspective change. Would it still be an anthology show? Is this the same incidents lead up to the Klingon Cold War with the Federation, but each season we change a perspective, especially if there's only 13 episodes, say it's a lot less TV to make, is 13. I mean, how do you feel if it was that? A 5-season arc telling the before Klingon War to a mini war to a Cold War to TOS, 5 seasons, and each season we change the perspective, crew and side of the battle. How do you feel about that?
I would love that. I mean, an anthology is just a collection of stories. So yeah, it could be just that one season's on a Klingon ship, and it could be that they're not totally separate, as far as they could all be happening at almost the same time. Like the last couple months of Discovery, season 1, let's say, and then season 2 starts on the Klingon ship, and you got the last couple months of seeing the same kind of things going on, but from a different perspective, and then moving forward. I think that would be a great way to do it, and I would really enjoy seeing that. Some of my favorite episodes are the ones where you're hearing the story from different people's perspectives, and things are slightly different based on their reality, like how they saw it. So I think that would be a very interesting storytelling device.
You know, we had a couple of characters in the Dominion War on the other side, and we would often cut back to them. You know, and speaking of a modern example, we just had an episode of Legends of Tomorrow where we see the League of Legend Doom, the Doom guys, the baddies, basically. You know, we literally see whole scenes, like half the episode is from their perspective, more than half in one episode, and it's wonderful to see the other side. You know, these are all 100% bad guys, not like Suicide Squad where they're doing good things. Like, these are bad guys doing bad things, written really, really well, and you sort of oddly want their plan to succeed, because normally in any story you're following a character that's doing a thing, and the thing should win because that's the story. But if that thing is the baddie's plan, but you're still following them and want them to, because it's more interesting if they do. So that, just seeing that was an amazing episode, and I loved seeing both perspectives. It gave so much more depth and humanized them, so even though we'd already seen them for seasons before. So to have scenes on, I mean, we're obviously going to do that to some extent because of how Klingons have cast and the implication. But I mean, would that be an incredible thing to see both perspectives get a real human and, well, I suppose, bipedal story, because it can't be a human story because they have Klingons, yeah, bipedal carbon story. I personally, as I've said before, I would like an anthology of different eras. Most creative thing. It burns through a lot of budget, but hey, if you make great stories, I mean, that's the important thing. I mean, I look at Wrath of Khan, as I said before, it's just it's one set, redressed, the Constitution class, you know, Enterprise and then Reliant. So that's like the last 2/3 of the movie is the same set, just redressed. Do that. I mean, that's that. I don't need more than, you know, a bottle show for for half a season. Just build 3 Enterprise D sets, and then that's all you know. Fan films have done it for years.
Well, what would you think about like a Quentin Tarantino style storytelling, where the storyline is all over the place each season? Like, you're seeing different eras represented, the story going forward and backward, and, you know, a disjointed storytelling approach. Would that be something that you'd be interested in seeing?
Well, we've sort of seen something sort of similar in the video game Star Trek Legacy, the main one. You know, we see the story go through each era. Actually, there's a wonderful correlation. You know, is it Vulcan who links with the Borg, and every era she meets sort of the hero from that time and progresses the story. But we get sub-stories, but they all link in with this big story. And it's really interesting, actually. I think that my issue with that, and if they are doing multiple eras, is that if they're doing this much to change pre-TOS, imagine if they went into TNG, you know, literally in season 3, and they say, yeah, we're going to reboot that too. And suddenly you've got, you know, pads that look completely different and phases that look completely different, and it's like, I would almost rather they commit and just do a single era anthology.
Just destroy one era.
I wasn't going to say it like that, Stuart, but that is a way of assuming of what I was saying. Yes. Well, okay, so they sort of said quite early on they're not doing an anthology. Although, to be fair, Brian Fuller's now left. He was the guy that said it wasn't, and they've made major redundancies and firings in the Discovery team in multiple departments. There's been really some major shake-ups,
and a lot of people left because of Fuller left as well.
So if they're going to change direction from his vision, they could have easily done that. And we've not heard anything about it being not an anthology. Maybe, you know, they're seeing that would be a good idea. I'm again hesitant, because I think the team behind CBS and whatnot would rather make the show, release the show, have it stand on its own merit without telling us much about it, rather than saying up front, hey guys, the fans, it's an anthology show and a reboot. And it's very people saying, yeah, we're not going to watch it. Whereas if they sort of say, it's a new Trek show in the prime timeline, watch us on May 15th. If they just say that, more people are going to watch it than if you tell us the truth and maybe lose some of the audience.
Yes. Oh man.
Isn't it sad though? We wanted Trek on TV for a decade, and now it is.
Now
coming
we're
back.
bitching about it.
Bitching isn't the right word. We are analysing what we've been shown and see the negative points. Although honestly, if the internet had been around in 2000 and whatever, and set photos of the NX-01 had come out, and they said to you, this is 100 years before Archer.
Before Kirk.
Before that would be, yes, for Archer would be a very period drama. I think fans, as they did at the time, would say, "Wow, it looks too advanced."
Yeah.
It's only in watching the show that you realize, yeah, because it's analogous of our tech pushed forward, but there are some still cues to de-evolution. It's just because of 100 years, you can do that way more flexible than 10. 10 is almost nothing. That said, 10 years ago I was 13, and I was a bit different 13, 13. So, I mean, people do change, more curly hair. So, but and people keep, posting the people bitching about TNG being so different. So, but at the same time, it's a Star Trek show.
I was just having a discussion last night with one of my friends, Michael Freitas, who designed the Terrorbird and was on one of our episodes of Star Trek Trekyards Originals, and he was saying when TNG first came out, he didn't want to watch it. He didn't like the ship. He didn't like this new captain. Yeah. Everything looked odd. The computer displays didn't like the looks of them. Wasn't going to watch it. Didn't watch the first few episodes, and then something in season 2 kind of grabbed him, and forgets what it was. And then season 3, of course, we all know got really good, and of course then you watch everything else, and it grows, and you end up loving it. And hopefully that's what's going to happen with Discovery. I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless. I don't understand the boycotting. We're not going to watch it. I don't get that. I mean,
why
even
on
those
earth
people
would you
I think are going to watch it.
Why on earth would you buy it? There's no reason to boycott.
Well, because they're mad at CBS for what they did to Axanar. That's why.
Well, and fan films in general. I mean, yes, but you support. If you support them, they might make the Trek you want. If you hate them, they'll say, "Screw it, Trek's not worth it."
Well, it seems like they don't care. At this point, it's like they're not. It seems like they're almost sabotaging Star Trek a little bit. I think that's how a lot of people see it.
Is not the same thing than to general audience. That's the question.
But like I said earlier, who cares about the general audience? I certainly don't. I know the people that want money in their pockets do. I get that, but
yeah.
And just because Star Trek's proven itself over 50 years, they think they can do whatever they want with it. But the problem is you're cutting out a huge demographic that way, which are the Trek fans.
Star Trek is a legacy, is a timeline, is a continuity, and we all celebrate that. And Enterprise was a very good mix, and especially now after the fact we've all had time to digest it, And it's why Trekyards exists, really. We hear the perspectives. Those who complain the NX is like the Akira, watch our 2-part special. We go through the similarities and differences and hear the story from the guy that you wouldn't be allowed to hear at the time because the guys will get pissed off at you telling the story. But 10 years later, it's just good journalism, it's good behind the scenes, and you can appreciate something more when you understand the reasons.
Yeah.
It's like Babylon 5, the CG is not the best ever, but guess what? They were pioneering technology. Once you appreciate, look at what they did to make the show and look at the, groundbreaking for the time. You can appreciate it more, whereas that, it took 30 hours to render a scene. Well, they really committed to doing quality for the time. Once you know what's going into it, you can appreciate it more. I'm going to watch it either way. So are you. We're going to review it either way. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff either way because it is awesome. It's great. We're a Star Trek channel. This is new Star Trek. Just like we did for Beyond. And we even got people from Beyond on the show. And obviously people hated the J.J. Abrams films. We still have covered them. I think you did Into Darkness review when it came out. I think I think you might have just done it, but we weren't doing the show then. Can't remember. But
I don't recall, but yes.
I've watched you review it, so...
I still haven't reviewed Beyond yet. Sylvia wants to join me for that, so a lot of people are looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, certainly. But I think that probably cuts it for today, Stuart. Is it Anthology? I hope so in a certain way. If not, not a problem, but it would be interesting and creative.
Yeah. I also hope it is, like I said, it was a big rumor early on, and then it just disappeared, so... did it go away as a thing that's happening, or is it still there and they just want to kind of keep it under wraps? Who knows? But I thought we'd at least approach it, and it could explain a lot of the things we've seen so far and probably will see in the future. Absolutely. It's like I've kind of said all along, try to stay positive, even though I myself am starting to get bogged down with some negativity. But yeah, that's about it. Anyway, guys, hopefully you like this podcast. If you have any future ideas for us or what you want to hear us discuss, please put it in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share it around, and subscribe, all that jazz.
And if you want to support the show and the channel, there are two ways. Either trekyards.com, click that donate button and give what you can, $5, $10, $2,000, whatever you can, or Patreon, which is the classic YouTube, so creators supporting site. They're a separate body, and you just go there and you say, hey, I want to give the channel I watch 7 shows a week of. You watch all that stuff. I want to give them $5, a cup of coffee a month. And guess what? If 1,000 of you gave $5, we could do a hell of a lot more. Exactly. And so a little bit of support from a lot of you, or even 1 or 2 of you, goes a long way, because we put a lot of time in to produce everything here for you, and we want to put even more time when Discovery comes out. We'll have to. So support us if you can, or just tune in and share all these things, spread the word, and just enjoy the show if you can't.
That's it. So tune in next week or tomorrow, whenever you want to watch these Trekyards, because there's every day pretty much we have something going on. So come back soon, and until then, I'm Captain Foley.
I am Connor Coons.
We'll see you later, guys.
Bye, guys.